Hi there guys, in this video we're going to have a look at version 2.1. Bear in mind this is the beta version, so things could change between now and final release. However, due to the amount of changes, I think it would be highly unlikely that we see any real serious changes. It's more likely there will be stat adjustments and some balancing issues, I would think, and tweaking necessary. So I would take most of this is pretty much what you're going to see in the final release. So it's been quite a while since we've had any big updates to the game. We've had kind of small updates and patch fixes. However, this version 2.1 adds a lot of new features. The change list is absolutely huge. So I'm only going to pick on the certain things that I think are good and the things I've noticed. There's bound to things I've completely missed, and probably will have to make some more videos in the future covering them points. However, hopefully I've got some of the major points of 2.1. The first bit, which is obviously the engineers. This is an engineers base we're travelling to. In the beta we have them kind of been unlocked for us, so we can actually go and see what they're like. However, I didn't get to actually try it, but I'll show you that later in the video. However, the changelog doesn't just go with the engineers. There is a lot more things that have been done in 2.1. Quite a lot of them I do think are positive. There's been a couple of negative ones, which for me is kind of the AI at the moment. Quite often when you're fighting the AI, it will now run away, and if you've got a bigger ship you can end up trying to chase it and not reach it, and then when the ship gets its shield back it turns back and comes back at you. I don't kind of like this with the NPCs. I like them that they kind of stayed and fight you. I mean, I suppose you could class it as more realistic that they run away, but it's not very enjoyable. Hopefully that won't be on all ships, just a few, but as I've seen so far it seems to be the thing of the AI. Anyway, the big thing is the engineers. We've just landed on an engineer's base. As you can see, they've even actually not just rehashed the same buildings and that, they've actually started to give us new content for these engineers. They've got their own special bases, and with that they actually got their own hangar. As you can see, it looks completely different to the normal hangars we found in stations and outposts. As you can see, I'm using an Anaconda in this instance. It's just because it's a good ship to get around the map quickly. So this is my Anaconda sitting in an engineer's hangar. So the ship's come a bit of way. I need to refill and repair it. If you notice on the left we have a new tab, Engineer's Workshop. So if we go in there, we've given the details on this engineer. We're told about the engineer and what they kind of do. In the beta we don't have to actually donate much. All this engineer at the moment is wanting is fish. I think that might change to alien artifacts, I'm not too sure. But for beta purposes that is been lightened. So let's donate our fish. So once we've done that, we've unlocked the ability to actually do the specialisation. You can see they're in sort of groups like other shields, power modules. So if we have a look at the power plant module one, you can see these are kind of recipes we can actually do to our power plant. So we can make it armoured, overcharge it, or make it low emissions. Like I said, we have these primary attributes with them, and then we get secondaries, and we have a chance to actually get a special ability. So if we have a look at the shield booster, we have this sort of same idea here. As you can see, there's little kind of circle things underneath the name of the recipe, and that gives you the idea of the kind of strength of the recipe. If it's got one little thing like that, they're not very strong. So as you can see here, we've got 1, this has got 2, so it's a stronger grade, and the one underneath, which is the dirty drive tuning, which has got 3, so that would give us a more stronger primary and possibly secondary effects. It doesn't look at the moment that I've actually got enough materials to actually do any of these. If you notice the cost on the right, these are things that I think you pick up in your inventory, not in your cargo space necessarily. As you see, it looks like I'm going to have to go collecting, so far I don't think I can try them. I guess something like this might be quite good. So it's giving us an increased jump range. So this is 1, 2, 3. That was grade 5 up there. So that is going to be the strongest. Yeah. So at the moment, just looking through what they're offering with the recipes. We can have a look at all of the recipes they offer, or we can just sort of filter it to the ones that we can apply to our own ship by going on the left one there. Or if we want to just see them all, we can click on Browse. Yeah, I don't know why there's 2 other categories there for. They kind of should be grouped, I would have thought. Anyway, so that's kind of a very quick look at the engineer. Unfortunately, I haven't got any resources to actually create any of this stuff, which is a bit of a shame. Like I said, I'm going to have to go around collecting stuff and looking. I think in the second part of the beta they're going to lighten up the resources, so I'll be able to test it possibly then. There's going to be a 3rd stage as well to the beta, which they're going to make people have bounties on, and whoever gets the highest bounty wins some community prize, I think. So that's some way of actually doing something quite fun, I suppose, for people with beta access. Another point that they kind of said that they've done in 2.1, which is kind of one of the bigger points, is they've looked at the terrain kind of creation. They've said they've kind of made it more detailed. I definitely think that looks like the case, because it does look somewhat sharper to me and it looks more detailed. I know this is in an engineer's base, which I'm just driving around to show you what it looks like, but it does genuinely it does look kind of better terrain now. It does look a bit more sharper and a bit detailed. At times it kind of looked a bit blurry. So here we go in our little buggy, just having a look about the engineer's base. So this brings me on to my next point, which is maybe a bit of a more minor point, but I do find it will be very useful. If we got this, if you notice, there's a bookmarking function here now. So we can go onto this tab here and show places that we've bookmarked. This would be really useful to basically where we've gone somewhere and we want to come back for some reason. Before you kind of had to remember it. This will allow you to basically store it in game, and you'll be able to just go back there when you want. You can also delete it and edit the name of it, and it's also got a little thing to plot the route for. Like I said, I kind of think that's going to be very helpful. While it's not a big feature in itself, I could see it being very, very useful. So the next kind of big change to 2.1 is the outfitting section. Now we're given like a list of ones on the left like this. We've got our hardpoint, utility, internals. Originally it was done in a sort of tab thing at the top. So we go to our hardpoints. You can see all our hardpoints laid out in a bit more easier to see format. And on the right of that we've got what we've got fitted, and it gives us the stats. Another thing they've done is if we go into the browse, now all the things do have their own little categories. and at the top here we can sort by class and type. If you just notice that to the left of the class box there's little icons. It allows us to sort them by fixed, gimbal or turret. I'm not totally keen on the right hand side of this page. It kind of seems a little bit busy. I mean, it could be possibly done a little bit cleaner, but it does give you a bit of a general. But as you can see, all our weapons, for example, are categorized, which does make it a lot easier to find now. Originally we had a great big list of weapons and you ended up having to sort by name or class or price to actually try and find things. So yeah, it's definitely much better having a menu like this, and we can just go in and pick things. As you just seen there's another introduction into the game, which is class 4 weapons. Now we have a beam class 4, we have a pulse class 4, and we have 2 more multi-cannons which are class 3 and class 4. So that means we've got a lot more choices with our huge hardpoints. Originally they were kind of a bit poor. I ended up sticking like a pulse laser in them, but now with beams, pulses and multi-cannons, those huge hardpoints are going to become very useful. And I could see something like the Federal Corvette with 2 huge hardpoints having a kind of a very much more deadlier focus to them now. 2 huge hardpoints are going to do a lot of damage, as you can see there. So like I said, now we go on to the utility page, which is just explains it. An internal page is done pretty much the same sort of way as the hardpoints. So we can just browse the shop and we're given the list of them. Bear in mind, like I said, the prices are a tenth of what they are in the final game because this is a beta version. As you know, it's not currently out. So now we're going to our internal compartments, and once again we have this nice section so we can actually go and find things without having to scroll through a big list of names and things. And I do like this. This does make it a lot easier to go and find what you're after. I mean, you can go around selecting shields and things like that, and it's a lot easier process. So let's just show you what I mean by these new huge hardpoints. So here we've got the beam laser. This is a class 4 versus a class 3. I wouldn't bear these stats totally in stone because there's a good chance they may change between now and final release due to balancing issues. Next we've got the pulse laser, the A4. I've decided in these to look at the gimbaled version because that's basically the version I would look at. But there is actually fixed and turreted version. Well, there's not turreted, but there is fixed versions of these also. Finally, on this one, we've got the class 4 and 3 are both new multi-cannons against the old version, well, class 2. So you may want to pause the video at them specific times so you can actually read through the stats. But it said don't bear in mind they may not be set in concrete. So the next kind of big change is these ice asteroids. As you can see, these look really fantastic, especially with an Imperial Courier. As you can see, these are new areas to kind of pick up resources. They also offer combat, as you can get low, medium, high, and I think even hazardous areas, much like the standard resource collection sites. They offer different minerals to mine. I don't know how much money you can potentially make out of these sort of places, and if they're going to make the other places useless. I don't really do a lot of mining because I don't find I made a lot of money doing it, but these are very nice places just to even go and have a look at. I'll leave you with this little flyby. So my thoughts with version 2.1 is that there has been a lot of changes. It does seem like a big improvement. I do kind of worry how much though the engineers may unbalance the game with some kind of weird things. I need to check into that more thoroughly. However, this was just kind of a bit of an overview of what to expect in 2.1 and to give you a heads up on it basically. If you like the video, like and subscribe, that always helps me. Thanks guys for watching and have a good one.